After months of heated debates and closed-door negotiations, Senator Bernie Sanders' landmark economic relief bill is finally passed through Congress, delivering what many are calling the most significant direct financial assistance package since the pandemic. You heard that right. $3,000 direct checks are coming to qualifying Americans, with an additional $200 monthly boost for Social Security recipients. Before you start planning how to spend this money, it is essential to understand exactly who qualifies for these payments, when they will arrive, and the surprising story of how this bill survived despite powerful opposition. The political landscape in Washington has been dramatically reshaped by this legislation, with economic experts already debating the long-term implications for inflation, poverty rates, and America's social safety net. This historic bill, officially titled the Economic Security Enhancement Act, may well be remembered as a defining moment in Bernie Sanders' legacy, with many questioning how this money will ultimately impact your family's financial reality in today's challenging economy. In the hallowed halls of Congress last Thursday, the atmosphere was electric as the final votes tallied and the legislation passed by the narrowest of margins after Senator Sanders managed to secure critical votes from several unexpected allies across the aisle. The Vermont senator, a longtime champion of economic justice, described the moment as a victory not for himself, but for the working families of America who have long been left behind. The centerpiece of the legislation provides $3,000 direct payments to Americans earning under $75,000 annually, with graduated amounts for those earning between $75,000 and $100,000. Families will receive additional payments of $11,000 per dependent child. Perhaps most significantly for seniors, the bill includes a $200 monthly increase to Social Security benefits, addressing what Sanders has repeatedly called the crisis of elder poverty in America. So, how did Sanders manage to push through such ambitious legislation in today's deeply divided political climate? The path to passage reveals a masterclass in political maneuvering and coalition building. After facing initial resistance, Sanders found common ground with moderate senators by incorporating several economic safeguards and targeting provisions that ensured fiscal responsibility while maximizing impact for working families. What we've seen is that direct economic assistance works, Sanders declared passionately on the floor before the vote, emphasizing that during the pandemic, direct payments helped keep millions of Americans out of poverty. He stressed that this effort is not about politics, but about recognizing the harsh reality that too many Americans are just one emergency away from financial disaster. The timing of the bill comes at a critical juncture for the American economy, with inflation finally showing signs of cooling, but housing costs remaining stubbornly high. Many families continue to struggle with meeting basic needs. Recent economic data indicates that nearly 40% of Americans would have difficulty covering an unexpected $400 expense, underscoring the financial fragility that persists despite low unemployment numbers. Treasury Department officials have confirmed that the implementation plan aims to begin direct deposits within 45 days of the bill signing, with paper checks to follow shortly thereafter. Social Security recipients will see their monthly increase reflected in the second payment cycle following implementation. The qualification process builds on systems established during previous relief programs by utilizing tax return data and existing Social Security Administration records to determine eligibility for most Americans who have filed recent tax returns or receive Social Security benefits. No additional action is needed to receive these payments. Although the IRS is expected to create an online portal for those who need to update information or check payment status. Concerns over inflation, which have dominated economic discussions in recent months, were central to the congressional debate. Opponents argued that additional consumer spending power could reignite inflationary pressures. However, Sanders and his allies presented evidence from leading economists suggesting that the targeted nature of the payments would primarily support essential spending rather than fueling broader inflation. According to economic policy advisor Dr. Maria Chan, these funds will go directly into local economies, helping families struggling to afford groceries, housing, and healthcare, and are not intended for luxury purchases that could drive inflation, but rather to meet basic needs that have become increasingly difficult to cover as wages fail to keep pace with the rising cost of living. The additional Social Security benefit represents a particularly significant victory for seniors. Advocates have long argued that the existing cost of living adjustment formula inadequately addresses the real expenses faced by older Americans, especially given that healthcare costs tend to rise faster than general inflation. AARP spokesperson Thomas Reynolds described the provision as an overdue recognition that Social Security benefits have steadily lost purchasing power over time. This $200 monthly increase will make a meaningful difference for seniors living on fixed incomes who have been disproportionately impacted by rising prescription drug costs and housing expenses. For instance, 72-year-old Margaret Wilson from Ohio explained that the additional $200 monthly means more than just numbers on a page. "I've been cutting my blood pressure pills to make them last longer," she shared, noting that after paying rent and utilities, there is just not enough left. And this increase ensures she won't have to choose between medicine and meals anymore. The legislation faced fierce opposition from various quarters, including industry groups concerned about potential wage pressures and fiscal conservatives warning about the impact on the national debt. Sanders overcame these obstacles by attaching several accountability measures and offsets designed to address these concerns without compromising the core benefits. Key funding mechanisms include a temporary corporate tax adjustment affecting only companies with annual profits exceeding $100 million and the closing of several tax loopholes that have long been criticized by economic justice advocates. The bill also incorporates economic triggers that would adjust future implementation phases based on inflation indicators, a compromise that proved crucial in securing votes from economic moderates. Critics remain unconvinced. Representative Thomas Harrington has labeled the bill as fiscal irresponsibility disguised as compassion and predicted long-term economic consequences, while industry groups such as the National Association of Manufacturers have expressed concerns that the corporate tax provisions might impact job creation and investment. Recent polling, however, indicates approximately 67% support for the direct payment provisions and an even higher 78% approval for the Social Security increase, reflecting broad public backing that played a significant role in pressuring representatives from both parties to support the legislation despite institutional opposition. The bill's passage marks a remarkable political achievement for Sanders, who has spent decades advocating for economic policies designed to benefit working-class Americans, and many political analysts believe that this legislation vindicates his persistent focus on economic inequality. They argue that current economic conditions have finally created a political space for more direct intervention in support of struggling households. As political scientist Dr. James Hoffman explained, when working families feel squeezed despite low unemployment, traditional economic approaches lose credibility, thereby opening the door for more direct assistance models. For families like the Martinezes in Arizona, where both parents work full-time yet find themselves falling behind each month due to rising childcare costs and rent increases, the legislation is arriving at a critical moment. Elena Martinez expressed relief by stating, "This $3,000 will help us catch up on bills and maybe even start a small emergency fund," emphasizing that the stress of living paycheck to paycheck takes a toll on every aspect of life, from health to relationships. In addition to these direct benefits, the bill also introduces provisions for future economic monitoring and support initiatives that may further stabilize local communities, ensuring that the relief measures adapt to evolving economic conditions and continue to serve those most in need. This expanded framework includes potential adjustments to tax policies and enhanced support for small businesses, a move designed to create a more resilient economic infrastructure over the long term. If you want to stay informed about the implementation timeline, qualification requirements, and the broader implications of this historic legislation for your financial future, make sure to subscribe to our channel for ongoing updates. We will be interviewing economic experts, tracking the rollout process, and providing step-by-step guidance on navigating the payment system. hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any critical information that could affect your family's financial well-being. And drop a comment below, letting us know how you plan to use these funds. Your insights might be featured in our follow-up coverage. As the economic landscape continues to change rapidly, and staying informed has never been more important for ensuring a stable and secure financial future.